What up people, DemoGhost here with a list of 5 things I think Granblue Fantasy Versus does right and 5 things I think it gets wrong. Overall, I will say I very much like the game, but for everything the game does right, there is something it might not do as well. So here we go. Most of my dislikes I have for this game are really only nitpicks or could be easily fixed, except for this one. It's the most obvious issue with the game, so I'll go ahead and get it out of the way first. The netcode. Granblue Fantasy Versus is an Arc System Works game, which means it runs on a delay-based netcode. And if you don't know what that is by now, with every FGC YouTuber and streamer talking about it so extensively, it's really bad netcode that was used way back in the Stone Ages of fighting games, and Japanese developers have just refused to adapt with the times. Which is unfortunate because even though Granblue is a good game, online play does suffer from the unstable netcode. Even though I play a ton of Arc System Works games, it still feels bad to play a match when you're constantly fluctuating between 2 to 7 frames of delay non-stop and half of your inputs just get eaten by the connection. One of the things I was worried about Granblue after playing the beta was that it was going to be a very basic fighter with almost no depth. It was a very slow, neutral-based game that revolved around the auto combo system and had easy shortcuts for the specials. Fortunately, they changed a few things, and now that the game is out, there are plenty of things to discover about it. Combos do more damage if you can avoid using the auto combo system. Some characters even have degenerate setups and mixes, and things get absolutely crazy in the corner. Not to mention that many of the characters have some unique moves and playstyles that give them more depth to explore. Then on top of that, the way neutral plays out feels really satisfying in this game. When ranked matches are implemented in online competitive games, they often put you in ranked placement matches to help assess your skill level and place you in the rank that will most likely have people around your skill level. Granblue has decided to implement this system, except for some reason they seem to have you fight bots instead of other people to figure out where to place you. Like, not even hard bots, which aren't really very hard, but like the easy bots. I fail to see how this helps at all when trying to figure out where to place you. Fighting CPUs are nothing like fighting real players. When I went through my placements, the game put me up against 4 to 5 bots that I beat fairly easily with almost no experience. Then it placed me in rank F5. Afterwards, I played one single match against another real actual player and won somehow. Then it decided that I was good enough to place me in B1. This was an incredibly confusing experience that could easily be fixed by just having you play other unranked players or just players at lower ranks that gradually increases as you win until you play all your placement matches. While on the topic of online ranked matches, outside of the placement matches, I actually like the ranked system they use for Granblue. I like how all the matches are a best of 3 between you and your opponent. The letter grade system is simple and effective on telling you what your rank level is, unlike most of the usual Arc System Works ranked systems, such as the BP system in Dragon Ball or the RIP system in Uniclear. It's a much more effective system at letting you know where your skill level is, as everything is black and white. You're either rank A or you're rank B or C or whatever letter you end up falling into. One of the things that I was slightly disappointed about Granblue was the limited character roster. For a modern fighting game, 11 characters is a small roster by any standard, barely having more starting characters than Skullgirls, an indie game with a far more limited budget. For me, this was only made worse by the announcement of DLC characters being released on the very same day as the official US release. These characters were for sure ready by the time the game was released in Japan, but were probably held back to get some extra money from the DLC purchases. This ain't too big of a deal since the roster will definitely fill out over the course of this game's lifespan, but it is just a little bit disappointing and feels a little bit like an underhanded tactic to wring some more money out of its loyal players. I really like Granblue's implementation of spot dodging and rolling. Now I know other games such as King of Fighters and even Samurai Showdown have used similar functions in their games, but it's a nice addition to Granblue nonetheless. The more you learn about the game, the more useful these mechanics become. There are so many circumstances where a well-timed spot dodge or roll can give you an advantage in a situation where you normally wouldn't. Even something small like spot dodging fireballs can mean a lot when you're getting completely zoned out in the neutral game. So Granblue has this system mechanic called Just Defend. You probably didn't know about it though, since it's completely freaking useless. You can just defend by pressing the back or block button the instant you're being attacked. In most other fighting games that have a similar mechanic to this, you gain some pretty good frame advantage among other things. In Granblue, you get a couple extra points of meter. Wow. Now, just defending isn't exactly an easy thing to do on demand. It can actually be quite risky, which makes the reward you get from doing it not really worth it. Especially since you're basically guaranteed to fill your super meter at least once per round anyways. Of course, some people have discovered that just defending can be used to block certain on-the-ground moves while in the air, but those are extremely limited circumstances, not to mention that the moves that can be just defended and the moves that can't be just defended are quite hit or miss. Overall, I think this system can easily be improved by Arc System Works with a quick and easy patch. Just give Just Defend the ability to prevent chip damage, since chip damage is such a big factor in this game. I'm sure they don't want to give frame advantage to Just Defend since that would probably change the game up so drastically, but giving it the ability to avoid some chip damage would not be the end of the world. So, RPG mode is pretty cool. I'm all for fighting games implementing new ways to play their game outside of just playing other players online. RPG mode isn't necessarily very challenging, but it doesn't have to be. It's a unique experience where you can play a sort of beat 'em up style game in a fighter. It can be fun to level up your characters and equip them with new weapons and such, and even unlocking new skins and colors for your characters even outside of the game mode. It's not perfect by any means, but I like that it's there, and I want to see more fighting games try new things like this for their offline modes. Plus, you can even play with another friend, but I wouldn't really know what that's like since I don't really have any friends. Last but not least, the goddamn load times. The game takes way too long to load anything. You're selecting a game mode to play? Here, wait in this load screen for 30 seconds. Selecting a character? Another load screen. You wanna go back to the previous menu? Load screen. They're freaking everywhere, and they take forever to load anything. It can be really frustrating, especially if you're already feeling particularly salty from playing like a complete scrub like me. Hopefully Arc System Works fixes this with a quick patch update, and for all we know, the Steam edition of the game might have shorter load times, which would honestly make it worth waiting for. Granblue Fantasy Versus has a very unique system to it where all special moves have cooldowns and shortcuts to use them without having to do command inputs. I think this is probably the best system in the game. The cooldown system makes you think a bit more carefully about how you use your moves. Sure, you can use a shortcut to use a special and maybe get it out a little bit quicker, but then it's going to be on cooldown for a far longer time than it would be if you used the normal inputs. Then there's when you should use the EX version of any move. EX moves can usually extend combos and lead to more damage, but then you're going to have to do without the move for a short period of time or even a bit longer if you're using the shortcut version of it. I think this system is great both for new players who might struggle with constantly pulling off command inputs, as well as more experienced players who have to gauge the right time to use their moves and be aware of when their moves are on cooldowns and when they can use them to extend combos and when they can't. So that's 5 things I think Granblue Fantasy Versus does right and 5 things I think it does wrong. What did you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll see you guys in the next one.